Welcome to CWS Christian Writing and Speaking. I'm your host, Jackie Wilson. And today's guest is the CEO of Live Joy Life. And she is also the author of the upcoming book, This Changes Everything When Death No Longer Has the Final Say. She says that we have to give our pain a purpose because we were not meant to be buried in our difficult times, but it is meant to bring forth God's greater purpose. And she shares this through her personal testimony of how she turned her grief concerning her mother's passing and the near death of her second child into a story of hope and healing. Let's welcome to the CWS stage, Miss Sonya Mack. Welcome, Sonya.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so amazing to be here, and I'm so excited to be able to share this story and just hopefully it's a story that can help someone else. So thank you for inviting me and thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, and absolutely. Thank you for creating the platform because I think it is very difficult for people to talk about the pain that they are experiencing, especially associated with grief. And now you're telling people, hey, there's purpose in your pain and you can create something greater from it. Can you share your story with the audience?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. So, my story really starts back, around 2005 when my mom was diagnosed with ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, which for people who might not know it is a terminal illness. It kind of just gradually over time takes the people's ability to use their voluntary muscles, and at that stage, I was only about 24 and I was young and just starting my life. And my mom was really my best friend. And I think that's the thing about our grief and losing someone we love. So often, these people, we've planned our future with them. We know what we're going to do with them. We have plans, and so when this ALS came up into our lives, that was a really hard moment for me. And then, but there, it was very interesting how God starts things very early on sometimes for us. And I remember a day sitting up in my bedroom when my mom was kind of in the middle of her illness, and I just remember God saying something bigger, something different, and I had no idea what he meant at the time. It
Mm.
was, it all just looked like pain to me. It all just looked like grief to me, and I couldn't imagine how there was anything that was bigger or different that was going to make any of this feel better. um, and so, then in 2010, my mom did pass away from ALS. And it was quite a few years before I really felt like there could be any purpose to this. And that's an easy place to get to when you're grieving, is to feel like, how could God make anything good out of this? Because I say in my book, grief is a to the bones, filtering through the marrow kind of pain. Like it settles into your bones, and it for people who have lost someone they love so much. It is just such a hard thing to go through. But in the beauty and wonder that God is, I took to my pen and my paper because that's how I heal. That's how I found the easiest way to try to understand what was happening. And I wrote, and through that, God just continued to bring to me these messages of something bigger, something different. And it wasn't until years later, really, that I had a conversation with my brother where he reminded me that our memories of the ones we've lost are so powerful. I mean, I could tell you everything about my mom, even years later. I could tell you what she looked like, how she laughed, the way her face crinkled. I could tell you the funny things she would say in that exact situation. And I think that's something that a grieving person would also recognize, is that the memories of these people that we loved are so powerful. that you sometimes feel like they're just right there with you, even though we know that they're not. And so my brother reminded me this, and in that moment I had this idea. I said, what if I rewrote my story? What if I took from the moment that my mom passed and rewrote her back into all of the things that she missed? You mentioned in that intro the near death of my second daughter. So both of my daughters, when they were born, the deliveries were fairly traumatic. They both had to go to the NICU. My second one did almost. Was born with a huge lung mass that had to be removed when she was 4 days old, and we didn't know if she was going to make it or not. And I just always wondered what would all of this have been like? How would it have been easier if my mom were here? And then and so I just had this idea, like, what if we as grieving people could rewrite our stories? What if we could take all these moments that these people we love are missing
Mhm.
and write them back into it? And I think I often say it comes down to a choice, which seems really hard. When you're hurting, the word choice seems like a really hard word, but maybe it's just a small choice. Maybe it's just a small choice to today, I'm going to remember something good about them. Today, I'm going to take this birthday, this celebration, this anniversary, this really hard thing that I'm going through, and I'm going to choose to imagine what my loved one would be like here. But the number one choice, I feel like, is to believe that your pain has a purpose. When we believe in the God that we do, the loving, all-encompassing God who even says in Romans 8:28, everything comes for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose. He has a purpose for our pain, but we have to take it one day at a time, one step at a time, and one choice at a time to believe that in faith, and then just step forward slowly and carefully. And so over the last 10 years, really, that's what God's been doing for me. And then giving me this heart to just share that with other people, to give them that hope that
Mhm.
their grief, their pain, their loss, whatever it is that is so difficult for them right now, there is a purpose for that. And there's a way to find that. And there's a way to move forward with that because of the God that we serve and the God that we love. And so
Yeah.
that's really where all of this came from: the Live Joy Life, the book, and then just my call to serve in that way.
Yeah. Can you tell people a little bit more about the book, what they can expect to find in the book?
Yeah, sure. So it is a true story. It's based on true events, and it is my story, but the way it's written, it's a fantastic journey of a mother and a daughter through some very fun times and some very difficult times. There's a lot of hope and laughter and healing that can be found, which is unique for a grief book.
Mhm.
Sometimes people um, you know, grief books are great. I've read a lot of them. This one's a little bit unique, but it's also a book for people who um, might feel like God is calling them to something, but are afraid to step into that, or
Mhm.
having trouble hearing more about what that is. So I often explain that it first and foremost was written to give people hope who have lost someone that they love. But even after that, it was written to inspire people who may feel like they're trying to step into a calling that God is asking them to, but they maybe don't know how to do that, or don't feel the courage to do that. And then really just that message of giving your pain a purpose, being able to rewrite your story.
Yeah. Can you share with the audience one tip of how they can turn their pain into a purpose?
Yes. My number one tip, which I kind of alluded to, is choice, which is a hard word again, but it's just making the small choices each day. So that's my number one choice. Or number one suggestion is choice. Choosing hope, choosing to remember the good times, choosing to believe, choosing faith. There's a lot of different ways that we can do that. But the number one, and one of my favorite ways is going through the Bible actually and underlining all the faith verses where God
Mhm.
tells us to believe, do not worry, do not fear, that He has a plan for us, and it's a plan for a good future and hope. And because sometimes, especially when we are in that grieving place, in that really hard place, that can be a hard thing to believe, and it can be a hard thing to find hope. But if we have verses that we can go back to, words, phrases, and if you could see my computer screen right now, you would see sticky notes all around it that say, I can do anything through God who gives me strength. God knows and shows me what is mine to do. So just surrounding yourself constantly with these reminders of these promises that God has given us is really something that helped me the most. And then when God does call you to something, take that action step, which can be, fear sometimes throws up a wall at us, but just taking that action step to be able to move forward. And He rewards those action steps. I know
Mhm.
you were kind of sharing a little of your story with me too, and just how even with your story, it started as one thing and your yes turned into another thing, which, and I think that's what God does. He rewards our yeses with a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. And so yeah, that's kind of my suggestion or my offer there.
Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah.
that. Tell people what's next for you.
Yeah. So I know we talked a little, obviously, I'm really working hard on this, launching this book right now, getting This Changes Everything out into the hands of everyone who needs it. Next is really digging into my online community, the Live Joy Life, which is helping people find joy again by giving their pain a purpose. And through that, I have, with my best friend Lindsay, we've kind of created this supportive community, because I think that's something that's huge for a lot of people, and especially women. We really want connection and community. And so we started Soul Sisters Unscripted, which is really just this online community where we can get together and really support one another. We're working towards starting some conferences and even like smaller retreats where people can really dive into those painful situations in a supportive environment and feel empowered to be able to move forward with that. Um, I've started writing my second book, because I think once you write one, you just get so filled with like excitement and you just want to write the next one. And then actually God has called me into moving toward coaching. So I'm working a little bit on trying to build that up so that I can serve people in the best way possible. Yeah.
It sounds wonderful, Sonya.
Yeah. Thank
Absolutely
you.
wonderful. Tell people how they can connect with you.
Yeah, sure. So the best ways to connect with me, my website is my name, www.sonya, Sonya, joy, Joy, Mac, Mack.com. There is really a resource for all. There's a blog to help people through some of those grief points, ways to order the books, get a little bit more information about the Live Joy Life, and then really I'm following me on Instagram, same thing at Sonya Joy Mack. And then my book is available right now. It's on pre-order. It comes out December 6th, but available anywhere books are sold. This changes everything when death no longer has the final say. So yeah, I'm really just excited to get moving and get connected with more women such as yourself, and just people, women especially, who are going through something tough, something painful,
Mhm.
and need that hope, and just offering that helping hand to them to bring them forward and say, you know what, I've been through this. We're going to get through it together. I always, my tag phrase is always in this together, because I very much believe that as a community of supportive Christian women, we can get through it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Sonya, as we wrap up your interview for today, what is the one thing that you want people to remember?
Right. Your pain has purpose. Your pain has purpose. And by purpose, I mean meaning. So often when these terrible things happen, whether it's, the grief over someone we've lost, or, the loss of a dream, the loss of a job, grief comes in such a huge category. it's so hard to find meaning. But because of the God that we serve, who is just an unending source of love, he would never let us walk through this very painful situation without it having a purpose. So your pain has purpose, is what I would tell everyone who's listening. Just to remember that and know that you can find it.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
CWS audience, you have heard her and you've seen how she has turned her pain into a greater purpose. You have the same opportunity. If you are experiencing pain right now, look at what you can turn it into, because we are meant to help other people. We are meant to comfort other people, as the Bible tells us. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And until next time, beautiful people, God bless.